Morning to all participants. Thanks for taking out time and joining us on Q1 FY22 earning call. Today's earning call and discussions and answer given may include forward-looking statement based on our current business expectations that must be viewed in conjunction with risk that pharmaceutical business faces. Our actual future financial performance may differ from what is projected or perceived. You may use your own judgment on the information given during the call. Our business performance has been better than our own expectations for the quarter. The domestic formulation business delivered 25% growth over previous year, and excluding 54 crore of domestic hydroxychloroquine institutional business which we had done in last year first quarter. If we exclude that, then domestic formulation business has grown by almost around 41% in Q1 on a lower base. Some of the therapeutic area recorded a very strong performance. Our pain segment has given almost around 36% growth, which contribute almost around 49% of our businesses. That is excluding hydroxychloroquine business what we have done with institutions. Including that, the pain segment has just given around 6% growth overall. Cardiovasculars and anti-diabetics has grown by almost around 14%, which has contributed almost around 18% of the business. Antibacterials has done really very well. The business from 18 crore has gone to almost around 50 crore. It contributes around 8% of the business. And overall growth in this business segment was almost around 173% for the quarter. Derma is another business where last year first quarter we were facing problems because of lockdowns and other things. That the recovery has been very strong. The business last year was almost around 13 crore. That has gone to almost around 25 crore. And the business growth has been almost around 89%, and Derma contributes almost around 4% of the business. Similarly, even anti-malarials in this quarter has done well, almost around 98% kind of growth, and its contribution is around 6%. The 20 crore business last year first quarter has gone to almost around 39 crore. Cough and cold is another segment where it continuously in last financial year there was a decline. But in this quarter, first quarter of the FY22, there is a sharp recovery in cough and cold business, and that has also grown by almost around 83%, and it contributes almost around 3% of our overall business. So overall, it's a broad base. Most of the therapeutic area, we had a very strong growth in the first quarter of the current financial year. If you look at CAGR growth of domestic business in first quarter, on a base of FY22, it works out to be almost around 16.34%. So that has been a really good growth on the base of first quarter's base of FY22. If you look at, then it becomes almost around 16% kind of growth. Because there is no point in looking growth from the base of FY21, because that was the business was facing problem because of lockdown. But on a base of Q1 first 22, it's almost around 16.3%, 34% growth. The broad-based treatment of hospitalized patients helped the antibacterial business growth. At the same time, selective lockdowns did not much disturb the overall market in the first quarter of the current financial year. Excluding almost around 259 crore exceptional business in Q1 last year on account of chloroquine and hydroxychloroquine that we had done last financial year. If you exclude that, and then on lower base of last financial year, we have recorded a business growth of almost around 23% in the current year. Overall for the company as a whole. We have achieved an EBITDA margin of around 27.1% for the quarter, in spite of 2% lower currency realizations compared to the last financial year, higher material cost at marketplace, increasing basic chemical prices, intermediate prices, petroleum prices petroleum product prices are at very high, which includes all the solvents which are used for API. So a lot of those costs and packing material costs because of commodity prices going up is also very high. And higher energy cost, transport costs and shipping costs more particularly the container costs, that has significantly moved up. And also the promotional cost has started returning back in the first quarter of the current financial year, as the situations are becoming normalized now. The COVID-19 has posed tough challenge due to COVID infections at plant and loss of life due to COVID, as well as selective lockdown also disturbed the plant productivity due to less availability of manpower at certain of our plant during the first quarter. Having given the brief presentations, I will now like to open the floor for question answer. Thanks once again for taking out time and participating on this call. Thanks, Nitin.
Thank you very much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may please press star, then 1 on their touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star, then 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. To ask a question, please press star, then 1. The first question is from the line of Tushar Manudhane from Motilal Oswal. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity, sir. So just on this, on the raw material cost, so how do you see the outlook now for the coming next 3 to 6 months, whether the costs are stabilizing or continue to rise?
There is a still continuing rising trends are there, more particularly again the flood in China and a lot of other issues are still disturbing the markets for more particularly for the basic chemicals and your intermediates here.
And so would be the logistics cost as well?
Logistics cost is also, in fact, your container hiring cost is further going up. The European containers, which was available much earlier at a much lower price, now is almost around, your reefer containers are almost around $6,000, $7,000 now. And US containers, because of a lot of the shipping companies are from China, and there's a tremendous amount of disturbances. And we have to book container well in advance. So there is a lot of disturbance as far as the freight is concerned, and that cost is moving up. Yeah.
So would that, given that we had some amount of inventory which would have taken care of for this quarter, so maybe will that cost impact could be more reflected in the coming quarters?
Let's say cost increase is there, but at the same time the pricings are also continuously getting revised. In domestic also we are taking little higher pricing. Normally we take more around 4% kind of price rise. This year our average price rise may be around 6% now. So that to some extent that will get compensated. And as far as API business, it's a quarter's leg, because what inventories you have, you price the product in line with that, and then price goes up again, you revise the prices in the market. So we don't sign any kind of long-term contract, so the prices keeps on revising. So it doesn't have much of impact there. Maybe it's of short-term, some kind of impact may come.
And just lastly, if you could also like extending the API on the sales aspect, like how do you see for the full year? Is there any one-off for the quarter, or this is kind of a normalized run rate to go by?
Let's say we have the business was good in the first quarter of current year. Domestic API business, we were expecting very, very significant decline because of last year we had almost around 136 crore of API business, which we have sold API to an Indian company, which in turn exported the product to US for COVID. But excluding that also, against our expectations, the API business has done very well. And current trend also appears to be good as far as domestic is concerned, because domestic market is also growing very well. So domestic API may do little better. On export side, we have projected for whole of year around 10% kind of growth. There could be some impact here and there because of we were exporting some API to market like Iran, where there are issues currently because India is not buying the oil, and therefore your rupee payments mechanism which is there, that rupee is not available. Even though you have orders in hand, but shipments are not happening. So that may have little impact here and there. But more or less, it's going to be in line with our overall expectations of the current year.
Thanks a lot, sir.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, in order to ensure that the management is able to address questions from all participants in this conference call, please limit your questions to 2 per participant. For any further questions, you may come back for a follow-up. The next question is from the line of Kunal Dhamesha from Emkay Global. Please go ahead.
Good morning. Thank you for taking my question. So first question is regarding the gross margin. So if I look at our mix, it has not sequentially shifted much. The domestic is still around 40% of our revenue, but if you look at the gross margin, they have compressed quite a lot on a sequential basis. So apart from high raw material cost, are there any other reasons for that?
Basically, there are the 2 reasons. One is, let's say, the product mix which is sold in this particular quarter. As I told you that there are significant jump in some of the product portfolios like your antibacterials, anti-malarials, so those and cough and cold and all those kind of portfolio. Traditionally, their margin levels are low. Their cost of manufacturing is higher. And some of the anti-malarials, we have very, very low margins. And their business growth has been significant. So that also impacts. So we cannot see the pharma business sequentially. It has to be seen with reference to the quarter-over-quarter. You cannot see that. It has to be with reference to each quarter. Product mix is little different. So that's one factor. Of course, the cost of material has also gone up, but it's also the product mix which is also impacting overall on material cost side. And last year for first quarter, if you look at most of those business relating to chloroquine, hydroxychloroquine, which has happened, that has happened at much higher margin level. And therefore, the material cost was almost around 27%. But if you look at overall our material cost for whole of the year, it was around 32% kind of material cost. And currently in this quarter, it's around 33 point some percentage point, 33.4. So it's a little increase also is because of overall product mix changes. Yeah.
Sure. And second question is on other expenses. So you alluded that now that the promotional activities are coming back, but still I believe we are still at around 300 crores. So do you expect this 300 crore cost line to move up materially in the coming quarter?
More or less, like say, cost increase trend would remain the similar kind of trend which we have witnessed in the first quarter. First quarter, there is some kind of exceptional entries also there of some provision of diminution and value of investment. So around 16 crore we have provided on that. So excluding that, there are no exceptional as far as expenditures are concerned. If you look at your energy costs, as almost your FO cost has moved up almost around 50-55% in this quarter. So energy cost has significantly moved up. Then your promotional cost, shipping cost has significantly moved up, and promotional cost has come back. Last year, first quarter, most of the field staff was sitting at home, so they were only paid the salaries. Normally, there are almost around 5,000 people who travels every day, so their travel cost, and also there are their allowances. So that cost was not there. So that cost has returned back. Okay. And secondly, on human resources cost side, if you look at since the domestic business has outperformed and has given a significant growth, so we also made a much higher provisions for the incentive payment to the overall to the field people. But a lot of those incentive payment also depends on how they perform in subsequent quarter. So it's based on our judgments we have made a higher provision, maybe practically double the amount we have made provision. So it all depends at how in future that will work out. There could be reversal or there may be requiring additional provision. Let's say but generally trend is good. July trend has been very good and August has also opened very well. So we don't see any kind of concern as far as domestic is concerned.
Sure. And just a small follow-up on that. We were expecting to add around 200 MR in this year. So has that cost also been incurred? I mean, have we kind of hired those many people and that's already built into our number?
That is already built up. Let's say we have added people in your CNS segment is one segment we have added people. Another we have added people is in ophthalmic segment we have added people. And some people we added in towards the derma business. And derma business for us is doing very well now. Very good recovery has occurred. So it's not that these products people have become productive, but their cost has come in the first quarter. So.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Damayanti Kerai from HSBC. Please go ahead.
Hello, sir. Thank you for the opportunity. Sir, my first question is on India business. So you have mentioned we have seen very good recovery in some of the segments. So just to understand, like, are these? I understand like most of these are seasonal in nature. So how do you see India growth panning out in next few quarters?
As already indicated that yes, there was some impact of COVID also in that because there was a growth for the hospitalized patients and there is a sharp recovery in the antibacterial. But normally the antibacterial sales happens very good in the your rainy season because a lot of infections happens around that time. The first quarter is one where those infections are at a lower level. But this year it has also helped by the overall those kind of infections. And overall, let's say trend appears to be good. We have projected for the current year that this domestic business should be growing around 16 to 18%. As a trend, it appears that we may have to revise our guidelines for this.
Okay, so this 16 to 18% you might revise later on, but so far you're seeing good trends.
Yeah, we are seeing good trend, yeah.
Okay. Sir, my second question is on your capacity expansion for API. So can you please provide update there?
We are still facing problem because that whole expansion got delayed because of COVID. At Devas, we are in process of setting up plant, but we also created there 250 bedded COVID hospitals, and because of that, the workers run away, and we had almost around 3 months gap in project implementation. So project was somewhere to become operational at the end of third quarter. Now it will go to the fourth quarter to do your entire validations, and also typically that plant will not be available for any kind of commercial production in current year. The capacities will become operational in the next financial year only. And we are setting up one more plant at Ratlam that also got delayed, and I think that should be somewhere at the end of third quarter. That should be the operational, yeah. So some kind of additional quantities may be available in fourth quarter for business, yeah.
Okay, so broadly we should be expecting these new plants will be contributing from next fiscal year onward.
Yeah, next fiscal year onward, yeah.
Okay, sir. I'll get back in the queue. Thank you for your answers.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Prakash Agarwal from Axis Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi sir. Thanks for the opportunity. On the export side, just wanted to understand the outlook. I mean, clearly this quarter is a impact of high base of last year's quarter. On the outlook side, how do we see the branded business and the generic business shaping up, especially in Europe of generic business?
Some of the branded business which we are doing currently in, let's say, CIS market, there is also impact of currency that your ruble has moved almost around to 72, 73 levels from 68, 69 levels. So there is a minor impact of that is also there, will be there. Some of the markets are also disturbed like Myanmar, where we were doing good business and currently because of all those turmoil which are there and there. So that market is disturbed. But some of the other markets, maybe in Africa and French African markets, are doing really very well. So it's a mixed trend. We have projected almost around 14% growth, but it's likely to be little less than that, maybe around 12% or something like that. So that will have some kind of little disturbances as far as that business is concerned. generic businesses, last year we did a lot of businesses relating to hydroxychloroquine and all. And also the para prices, paracetamol is also one of the good product which goes in Europe and other market in a big volume. Because of para prices moving up to almost around double the level than last financial year. Currently the buying levels are low, so your generic European business may have some kind of impact of that. But overall, your API business, we should be able to achieve around 10% kind of growth. Domestic API should be able to do better than that. And overall, our guidelines continue to remain around 10% kind of growth, 8 to 10% kind of growth for the next year, for the current financial year. But looking at overall trend after second quarter, we will decide on and revise our overall guidelines for the current financial year.
Okay, thanks. And any outlook, sir, for the gross margin? You mentioned not to look at quarter on quarter, but there is a sharp jump in the high margin domestic business. So how do we see the upcoming year, as the gross margins? Because this seems pretty low to us seeing your past performance.
Yeah, our guidelines for this year on EBITDA margin side was almost around 25%. And in first quarter, we have recorded around 27% kind of growth. And the trend is likely to be better so after second quarter, we will revise our guidelines upward, yeah.
Okay, but any color on gross margin, sir?
Gross margin is a quarter on quarter kind of, let's say in this quarter, a lot of those businesses happen where the cost was on higher side. But that trend may not continue for a longer period. So overall, the material cost will come down a little bit, yeah. So gross margin levels will improve.
Okay, thanks. And lastly, on API business, we're looking at your annual report. So currently, this Pisgah and Ramdev still at loss making at the PBT level, and how do we see the turnaround? I mean, there was a thought that we'll consolidate and scale all these businesses. What is the 1-2 year outlook on these subsidiaries?
Pisgah in current year may continue to remain a loss making, but basically we have taken that for the CRAMS business, and now the business has started happening. We already won the 2 projects, and there are good amount of work in progress is happening on that. So it takes time for a new entity to establish there and all that. So that work is currently happening. So Pisgah, we don't expect that to make money. At the Ramdev, we are changing the complete product portfolio because they were more on intermediate side, and we are in Ipca, we don't do much of intermediate business. There is hardly any intermediate business. So we are now focusing more on API side. So a lot of APIs are taken for qualifications and a lot of stability, and those kind of works are going on. So maybe current year they will be on losses, but on a longer term, maybe next financial year, we should be able to turn that down.
Okay, thank you, sir, and all the best.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Surya Patra from Phillip Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for this opportunity and congrats for the good set of numbers, sir. So just on the just a clarification from the earlier question that you mentioned, Ramdev, which has been in the intermediate business, and you are trying to switch it to API manufacturing one. So while we are creating capacity for intermediates and backward integration and all, like in Ratlam, also in Aurangabad, as well as in Devas, why are we changing here, sir, Ramdev?
These are small. Ramdev is not a very big plant. It's more suited for small, high-value, small API kind of thing. So it's not a plant for intermediate. So they were doing mostly the intermediates for smaller products which are not there in our product line, and we don't want to be there on those product lines. So it's not. So it doesn't make sense. As far as the intermediate journeys are concerned, that's for basically to support our captive consumption. We don't do any kind of intermediate business as such. We don't sell intermediate. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's the change. Wherever we are setting up your intermediate production is only to support our API.
Okay. Okay. And my first question is about this thing, sir, so you mentioned that this Devas project possibly will be commercialized starting FY23 or something like that. So is it early part of the FY23, or do you think that it will be only in the second half of the FY23 or something like that? And also, what is the update on the debottlenecking project that you have been doing in Aurangabad? You said about the Ratlam.
Yeah,
so,
Ratlam, that project is progressing well. I think third quarter that should be commissioned. So fourth quarter that should be available for business. As far as Devas is concerned, it's a new site. So we will have to, after the qualifications and we do everything, it may not add immediately the business because we will have to generate data and file everywhere with the regulators and then invite them for inspections. Yeah.
Even if for intermediate?
No, in intermediate we don't do. So what we do is the initial phase, we will produce the intermediates for our own N-1 at here and then send it to Ratlam. So we will increase our Ratlam productivity. And by the time, let's say 6-8 months time, all the data will be generated and then submit to the regulators, and then there will be some kind of your time lag for their inspections and all that. So after that, once the site is qualified, then only you can export API from that site. So any kind of new sites you create, there is some amount of pain for till the time you get all those kind of approvals. So even in 23 there will be some that pain will remain because it's a process by itself. That process has to be completed, regulatory approvals need to be taken, and then you start exporting. So that time will be required for any new greenfield site. Additional your existing site, whatever expansion you come from day one, you can do the business. But
just on the Devas, it is the objective is to have a external sale, or it is largely to have more of a backward integration for the existing operations?
No, Devas is purely for external business and captive consumption.
Okay.
Not intermediates. Yeah, it's basically an API site.
Okay, fine. Second question, sir, so if you can just talk something about the how should one really look at the associate companies where we have gradually expanded our holding, let's say Crave or the Trophic Wellness or the Awake. So all these three are having some unique capabilities, but we are at the almost like at the threshold levels before having a kind of a majority stake. So your viewpoint on those, what is the kind of outlook that one should really have for IPCA?
Overall, let's say Trophic Wellness is a company which is dealing into nutraceutical products, and that's a different kind of marketing model there. It's direct selling to the customers. That's the kind of model is there. And that business is doing very well. I think overall last financial year we did I think business of almost around 100 crore and that company, and had a profit of more than 20 crore. So that is there as far as the Trophic Wellness is concerned. And that business is also shaping up very well for nutraceuticals. So your wellness is one particular area where in longer term that businesses will do well and will have a much higher growth. So we have increased our overall holdings because there were when this company was started, there were 3 partners were there, and one of the partner wanted to exit, so we bought his stake. So there were 3 partners in this. IPCA was also one of them. And with that, overall our stake has gone up, and we have become now, it has become our subsidiary company. So that's one. And as I have already talked about Ramdev, that it's a plant is more suiting for your high value, small volume kind of those kind of products, and that's the journey we are having from that particular plant. And as far as the Awake business is concerned, it's more on the steroid side, steroid and that business, and we have not increased our stake in that company. Our stake more or less remain at the same level. Yeah. And as far as Krebs is concerned, yes, it's basically a fermentation plant. There are two plants. One is at Nellore and another is at Vizag. Nellore plant is already on break-even and it's started earning money. But as far as fermentation plants are concerned, we are still facing some kind of issues there. But hopefully by this year end, we should be able to, because we have overall a lot of changes we have already made there, and we are also changing the product line, and we should be able to now come to the break-even in by the I think maybe the third or fourth quarter of the current financial year. And it's basically a fermentation plant, and with a very high, very large fermenters base. It's not a small fermenter base. A very large classic fermenters are there in that plant. It basically was producing Simba, but their process is not efficient, so those also we are changing now.
Excuse me, this is the operator. Mr. Patra, may we request you to come back for a follow-up, please? Thank you. We take the next question from the line of Kunal Randeria from Edelweiss. Please go ahead.
Thanks for taking my question. So first, on the domestic business, a lot of the top brands like Zerodol and Extension, CTD, Foytrax, these are number one in the market and have huge market share. So I'm just wondering if the upside, at least in terms of market share expansion, seems challenging. So just wondering what your thoughts are, for the longer term growth for some of these brands.
Zerodol is a very large brand today, and at that level also, if you look at in last whole year, we have grown by around 18% on Zerodol, and the whole market was challenging. In current year, even in first quarter, Zerodol as a brand has grown by almost around 36%. And we are very confident that we will take this brand to the newer level. So there's a huge potentials still to be tapped on this kind of product. So there is nothing as far as we are concerned. There are no worry as far as Zerodol growth is concerned. As far as your hypertension brand CTD is concerned, yes, we have market leadership and we are expanding its overall more offering as far as your in terms of your combinations and others on CTD brand. And again here, as far as overall hypertension markets are concerned, it's very small if I look at that way. And we have long way to go with it and to make it further very big. So I don't think so we have any concern on that. And as far as other therapies are concerned, like rheumatology, we have more than 40% kind of market share, where most of those brands are having a leadership at the marketplace. All rheumatology brands, most of the brands we have leadership. Recently we have launched, I think in November, Tofacitinib also in the market, and that product is also having leadership in the market, and we are doing very well on that. And your disease prevalence of rheumatology is very high. It's autoimmune disease. We are continuously expanding the market. It's only last one and a half year because of COVID there are challenges in expanding market. So overall little growth has come down on rheumatology side. But on a medium terms and longer term, we don't foresee any kind of issue in growing that market further, and continue to maintain leadership and still grow that market very well. Yeah. And others, most therapies of ours are basically it's a growing. We are like say derma, it's a growth market for us. Or urology is a growth market for us. CNS is a growth market for us. Or ophthalmology, all these are high growth market for us. So they will continue to do very high growth. At the same time, we don't foresee any kind of issue in growing our existing these kind of portfolio. Our challenges are only relating to anti-malarials, which has become very small part of the overall market, overall in our pie. Of course, in first quarter it has become 6%, but overall for the whole of the year it is only around 4% of our business. So that's only one which is a declining market, and some of their old legacy products like beta blockers and all, they are on declining side on cardiovascular, and so rest is all our portfolio is more linked to the overall to the growth markets. Yeah.
Sure. Just a follow-up to this, sir. Aceclofenac as a compound, is that also you believe can grow at 12 to 15% in the coming years?
Aceclofenac is continuously taking your market share from other, because the GI issues with aceclofenac is much less compared to all other NSAIDs. So and it's all continuously taking the market share from others, and we are driving that basically.
Sure, sir. Just one more clarification, sir. What would be the tax rate guidance for this year and next year?
I think current year and next year we will remain on MAT. Thereafter we will opt for that lower rate of tax of 25%, because by the time then your MAT credit should be almost whatever accumulated MAT credits are there, that will be consumed.
Okay, sir. Thank you and all the best.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Charulata Gaidhani from Dalal & Broacha. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So congrats on the good set of numbers. My question was more pertaining to the sartan prices. How do you see growth with the decline in sartan prices?
Let's say sartan prices have sharply come down. Losartan was the main product for us, and there also prices have sharply come down because of overall intermediate prices coming down. And that whatever that cost reduction is there on material side, that as we have passed on to the overall to the market. But what we have done, overall our business has not grown up on that, but our volumes has gone up. So we have taken more market share in quantity terms. But our overall top line on rupee terms has not moved up in first quarter of the current year. But we have sold higher volumes in the market. So more market shares in terms of quantity we have taken. So that's reflected in the let's say your overall revenue going down. But we have to produce more quantity to compensate for the reduction in the prices.
Okay. So are you looking at, how do you plan to overcome this?
Plan to overcome is, let's say, the market forces will always play. Sometimes the intermediate prices are higher, sometimes the prices are lower. We also are developing a lot of the sourcing from India also on that. So that your nick and jerk reactions are not there to these kind of markets. But it's a dynamic situation. Sometimes there are more number of producers comes in the market of intermediates, and intermediate prices fall. And sometimes some plant gets some issues, or bigger plant has issues relating to any kind of pollution issues or some kind of your breakdowns or all, then suddenly demand moves up. Those demands are not fulfilled, then market prices moved up. So it's these are the issues can only be addressed if you are having your captive productions of some of the intermediates, or some of those are in your supporting manufacturers are producing that. So that's the long-term focus for us to internalize some of those intermediates. Yeah.
Okay. And do you expect improvement in profitability going forward?
Profitability continuously last few years are moving on, and will continue to move upwards as the product mix are moving towards the higher value chain.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. All the best.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Kunal Dhamesha from Emkay Global. Please go ahead.
Hi, thank you for providing the opportunity again. So we are planning to commercialize Dewas probably in FY23. But will we have a higher operational cost related to it once we kind of commercialize, but then there'll be no revenue, at least as you suggested, for some time till we get the plant inspected and all? And what could be the quantum of those operational costs initially?
Let's say when you start the plant immediately, their operational costs may not get fully recovered. But as I said that we will produce N-1 from this particular plant and shift it to our Ratlam plant and keep on producing API from there. So we will, it's not going to be a complete loss or no revenue. That situation will not be there. There will be transfer, the N-1 will be transferred to Ratlam, and then from there the APIs will be produced. So that's going to be initial journey till the time plant gets the regulatory approvals from the regulators. So it's not that this will be incurring huge amount of losses on operational cost and all. Yeah.
Sure. And the second question I have is again on Sartan. I think few quarters back we were thinking to add a continuous manufacturing facility for Sartan. But then I think the market forces have moved, quite significantly. So are we still on track to do that investment, or?
We said that we have set up one particular continuous process plant to produce one particular intermediate. It's a 23-step process is there, and we have successfully done that to improve the yields and others. But on one particular step, we are continuously facing the problems for the MOC of the particular equipment, and that challenge is continuously there. We are in process of consulting with a lot of experts and finalizing now that what kind of corrective actions need to be taken on that. So it may be another few more months here and there, and thereafter that plant will be completely operational, because that one particular step challenge is still there. So we will reduce the intermediate cost of that particular product significantly.
Sure. And lastly, beyond FY22, what are our capex plans?
The capex more or less now, because almost on API side we don't have surplus capacity. There will be also some kind of intermediate journey will be there. And formulation side, as the business start moving up, some kind of balancing equipment and all will be needed. Maybe I think 1.5 years after, we may need even capacities for our domestic production also, because Sikkim plant is almost running at full capacities now. So we may need to make some kind of more investment there. So overall capex cycle may remain around 400 crore level for next 2 to 3 years. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Dipali Pataria from Sameeksha Capital. Please go ahead.
Hi, am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible.
Hi. First of all, congratulations for such a good set of numbers. I understand that you said that you might revise your guidance on revenue growth and margins, but specifically on EBITDA margins, like we guided for 25% for FY22 and now we are at 26.6% for this quarter. So directionally, how we should be looking at for the upcoming quarters, FY22 as whole, and what will be the growth levers, what will be the levers that will be driving the margins? And also in the longer term, if you could help us understand how EBITDA margins might shape up.
Basically, if domestic business does well, then overall margins will definitely improve. And the second quarter is always very heavy for us. And I said that July was very good, and August trend is also very good. So if the second quarter your overall business is good, then overall for the whole of the year, then there will be much better the EBITDA margins than compared to the overall guidelines what we have given. So after looking at second quarter numbers and all, we will revise the overall your guidelines for the whole of the year. Yeah. But as I said, that trend is good. The business trend is very good.
Okay, thank you. And my next question is on institutional business. So we saw a good set of numbers there as well. So can you help us understand what drove this kind of numbers in institutional?
Let's say we are completely backward integrated on most of the APIs, and we are most cost competitive as far as all antimalarials are concerned. 2 years back, because of certain changes in your policies for your US donations to the world, most business has come down a little bit, and what challenges we had with the Global Fund and also. Those all issues are behind us now, and we are getting the good businesses from country tenders and also from institutions. And on the product portfolio side, we have added injectables on Artesunate, and that's also doing very well for us. So overall, the business is good. We have future product pipeline also there on that. So overall, this business will continue to do well.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Uday Shah, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Sir, overall plan for our investment in Makers Laboratory and Resonance Chemical, if you can give some color.
IPCA has no investment in Makers and Resonance. It's a separate company. So, and I don't look after anything of Makers and Resonance, so I will not be able to give you any answer on that.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of S. Mukherjee from Nomura. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Sir, can you, on the API business, once those expansions are in place, so what kind of capacities we will have compared to the current levels?
Overall capacities will increase by almost around 20%, yeah. With all the three plants, 2 plants at Devas and 1 which is coming up at Ratlam itself, yeah. So around 20% API capacities will go up, yeah.
And do you think it is enough for, what should we think about? Actually, I'm just thinking about, a medium-term growth for the API business as these capacities come and the product mix that you have. So how should we think about growth, sir, over a medium term for the API business?
By and large, all these capacities on API says our whole focus first is captive. All these products which are taken up for API manufacturing are basically linked to our formulation journey. By and large, these capacities which we are creating is, let's say that at some point of time the US will get cleared, and then we will fall short of capacities. So it's also we are building those kind of hedges. Otherwise, when US get cleared, we may not have the API capacity even to have for our the captive consumptions, because we can't then whatever customer base we have created and servicing them, that cannot be denied those APIs. So, and at the same time our API volumes are also moving up. So that because of that we are creating these kind of capacities so that when your captive consumption grows on your formulation side, we have sufficient capacities to meet our demand.
And sir, I was looking for like external sales. How will that grow if you take a 3-4 year view?
We don't see that API business per se growing by more than 10% year on year.
Okay, so that's the limit that you see on the API business growth.
Yeah.
Okay, understood. Sir, just on the domestic business, is it possible for you to, sir, the underlying volume growth? Of course, this quarter is exceptional, but otherwise, how much volume growth and price increase that you see? You mentioned 4% in a normal year, but what is the volume?
This year average price increase is 6%.
Yeah, that's I think this year, right? But generally it's 4%.
Normally our price increases are around 4%,
Yeah. And the volume
more or less we are closer to your wholesale price increase overall. But this year, since all inflationary trend is there, so and also because all the material costs are moving up and energy cost is moving up, all those costs are moving up. So therefore, we have taken little higher price increase in current year. So rest is all volume growth. If we have grown by the 23-24%, it's only the 6% is coming from price increase. The rest is all volume growth.
Okay. And so Zerodol, I mean, what kind of volume growth that brand is? I mean, what kind of brand growth you record there? Volume growth in Zerodol.
Zerodol is last year it has grown by 18%, so it's almost around 14-15% is volume growth. The first quarter it's almost around close to 30% is volume growth.
And so this 14-15% volume growth in Zerodol, you think this is sustainable? You think over the medium term?
We still see a huge amount of opportunity as far as Zerodol is concerned overall.
Okay. And any kind of competitive pressure you have here, sir? I mean, for competitive dynamics or any kind of price pressure, etc., is possible you see, or you think the market itself is there's enough opportunity to grow this, so there's space for everyone to grow?
As far as the competition from brands of Zerodol is concerned, they were there always and they will continue to remain. But we have leadership across products and across all the states of the country. So every state we have leadership, and there is a huge difference between us and the second leader. And therefore those some kind of price competitions and all it's not there. And the Zerodol is also not priced aggressively. It's priced around the competitors' prices only. It's not as a larger brand, we are not taking any kind of premium on pricing because it's a product with huge amount of volume growth. So the price growths are more when it's somewhere on maturity side, the products start moving on maturity side. So we are not too aggressive on taking prices growth on that. It's more or less around the competitions only.
Okay. And sir, last question, sir, just quickly on the tax rate. You mentioned FY 22-23 we should be at 17-18%, and FY 24 we should take 25%?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Ashish Thakkar from Motilal Oswal Asset Management. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. So on the revenue guidance, you said 8-10%, and you might consider it revising upward. So does this guidance include the SCQS numbers, or the 8-10% is excluding the SCQS of last year?
Ashish, the guidance given was vis-a-vis the income of whole of the last year. So last year, whatever sales that have come of SCQS, CQP, everything is included in the guidance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's fair enough. And so correct me if I'm mistaken, because I guess last quarter you guys had said FY23 we will revert to 25% tax because in FY22 we will exhaust all the credits.
Yeah, Ashish, FY22, that is current financial year and next financial year. That is FY23, we will remain more or less in MAT tax only. We will be utilizing the MAT credit available. Maybe in the subsequent financial year, we will revert to that lower tax regime, which is about 25%.
Okay, in FY24.
FY22 and FY23, it will be current tax rate will continue. In FY24, it will perhaps change to that 25% regime.
Okay. Perfect. So this was all from my side. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Kunal Randeria from Edelweiss. Please go ahead.
Thanks for the follow-up. So just one question on the EU generics business. Are the UK issues completely behind you now? Have you sort of stepped up your launches there? Just any kind of guidance, longer-term guidance would be welcome.
During Q1 FY22, UK business has grown by about 15%. As mentioned in our last con call, we have already started marketing generics in UK in our own trade name. Slowly, one after another products are getting registered, and we will expand our product offering in our label in UK market in the quarters to come.
So any aspirational guidance for the next 3 years in UK?
More or less, UK market should continue to grow around 10-12% kind of growth year after year. Maybe for next 3 to 4 years. And European market should grow much better than the UK market. That is overall guidance as far as the European generic business is concerned.
Any particular reason why UK will be going slower considering that you are coming out of
UK is highly competitive. The margins in the UK generic business is the lowest margin what we get amongst all our generic global business.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Surya Patra from Phillip Capital.
Yeah, thanks for the follow-up, sir. Just one more question on the cost front only. This quarter, other expenses, if I see, although we have seen, or rather, in the previous year, we had seen a kind of a saving in terms of marketing and distribution cost to the tune of 60-70 crore, and which has now normalized. There is a kind of a promotional expenses which is now normalized. All that has happened. Despite of that, I think the run rate in terms of percentage to sales, what we are currently seeing, that is lower compared to the kind of a trend. This saving is a kind of one-off quarters, this specific, or anything, any directional indication?
No, whatever other expenses of this quarter, minus whatever small exceptional item of about 16-17 crores, this trend should continue in the coming quarters. So the other expenses, you do measurement vis-a-vis our FY20 Q1, not FY21. For FY21, there were hardly any promotional expenses, there were no incentives, there were no daily allowances. And if you see today, apart from those things coming back, there is also higher inflation cost because of fuel, energy, plus shipping.
Yeah. So I'm saying that there is a greater saving that we are witnessing. I'm not saying that it has got elevated. The absolute number could be looking higher, but I am saying that in terms of percentage to sales, if we consider, there is a kind of meaningful saving.
Surya, if you see our CAGR growth in the sales of last 2 years, it is more than 17-18%, and the cost inflationary trend won't be to that extent. So this particular trend will also going as we move ahead also. So if you see percentage of sales, all this cost, it will what? It will go up according to the inflationary pressure, not beyond that.
Of course. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when your sales grow higher as a percentage, it will go on reducing.
Okay. And just last one question on the Onyx side, sir. How is the performance there? Whether the COVID-related thing that is there any continued impact on that, or what is the kind of outlook that you are going to give on that front?
As far as Onyx is concerned, since last 3 years, quarter on quarter, they are growing. And as far as this COVID-related, we have not felt anything as far as the Onyx operations are concerned.
Okay. And just one statement that Sir has mentioned about a definite kind of clearance of the plants from the US FDA side. So any progress that you are witnessing, sir?
No, between last quarter and this quarter, there is status quo. Nothing so far.
Sure, sir. Thank you, sir. Wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the last question. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Nitin Agarwal for closing comments.
Sir, do you want to make any last comments, sir?
No, nothing, Nitin. Most of the things were covered during the question-answer session. I don't think anything is further left out.
Okay, sir. Then thank you very much, everyone, for taking the time out and participating in the call. And thank you to the Ipca management team for the valuable time. Good day, everyone, and stay safe. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Nitin, and all participants. Thank you. Bye.